Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into something absolutely foundational today. We are looking at how the quiet, totally ordinary interactions you have with a baby are actually doing some incredibly heavy lifting. It's so fascinating how complex neuroscience plays out right in our living rooms. So today, we're breaking down the 10 pillars that build a baby's brain from the ground up. But right off the bat, we have to tackle this huge myth. Are a baby's early years really just a blank slate? You know the idea, right? We kind of assume that because a baby can't tell you what they had for lunch or they aren't going to remember that super expensive toy you bought them, that these early years just sort of fade away. But the science paints a totally different picture. Their nervous system is actively and permanently recording everything. And the reason that blank slate myth is just wildly inaccurate comes down to this staggering number: 1 million. Think about that for a second. 1 million. That is the number of new neural connections a baby's brain is creating every single second. Every second. Those connections are literally wiring the foundation for how this child is going to handle stress, build relationships, and learn for the rest of their life. What this massive million connections a second process is actually doing is creating what's called the metabolic blueprint. So this isn't a memory in the traditional sense. It is a permanent neurological record, down at the cellular level, of exactly how caregivers are responding to their needs. Basically, every interaction is quite literally programming their nervous system. To make sense of all this, we're going to break it down into 5 key areas: the hidden brain blueprint, wiring connection and language, fostering grit and autonomy, navigating emotional storms, and finally, the power of calm. All right, starting with Section 1, the hidden brain blueprint. This is the deep science behind those incredibly ordinary moments. It really all boils down to this quote: "These aren't complicated activities. They are the quiet, ordinary moments that decide whether your child grows up with confidence or anxiety." Sure, the stakes sound high, but honestly, this should be a huge relief. You absolutely do not need expensive gear or fancy flashcards. You just need a little bit of intentionality during the mundane parts of your day. Okay, let's dive into Section 2, wiring connection and language. 30 to 60 seconds, that is our very first pillar. Sustained eye contact. Look, most of us treat diaper changes or feedings as chores, right? We just want to get through them, so we scroll on our phones or zone out. But a baby's brain is biologically hardwired to seek out your face. It's the most crucial social information they can get. When you make deliberate, sustained eye contact for just 30 to 60 seconds during a routine task, you are literally planting the neurological seeds for social intelligence. Without that eye contact, the social brain actually struggles to learn that connection is rewarding and safe. Now, let's talk about how we actually talk to babies. We naturally default to adult talk. Oh, look how cute you are. But if you want to seriously boost their vocabulary, you need to use the echo trick. When your baby goes ba, they're essentially serving the ball to you. Just copy that exact sound right back. Why? Because mirroring them fires up their mirror neurons, which are the absolute foundation of empathy and language. It sends this high voltage signal to their brain that says, hey, my voice has power and I'm understood. Which brings us to a huge communication pitfall. A lot of parents think keeping up a constant monologue is great, just narrating every single step of the day. But if you don't pause, your voice just turns into audio clutter, and the brain tunes it out. What you need instead is the 5-second pause. It's that serve and return rhythm. You speak, and then you intentionally wait 5 seconds. That gives the baby's prefrontal cortex the time it desperately needs to actually process what you said and form a response. You're literally building the attention span they're going to use in classrooms for the next 20 years. Moving right along to Section 3, fostering grit and autonomy. This one is tough, honestly, because building resilience often goes completely against our natural instinct to rescue them. Picture this: a baby is reaching for a toy that's just barely out of their grasp. Your immediate instinct is to rescue them, right? Just slide it a little closer. But when you do an immediate rescue, you accidentally wire a template of learned helplessness. You're telling their nervous system they need outside help to solve a problem. Instead, try the 10-second struggle. Just waiting 10 seconds before you step in to offer minimal help actually builds the neural pathways and the cognitive muscle they need for true grit and persistence. And here's something that surprises a lot of people. So many parents cheer when their baby stands up early, thinking there's some kind of prodigy. But skipping the crawling phase means missing a massive neurological window. Crawling requires cross-lateral movement. That means the right arm and left leg are moving together. This specific movement physically strengthens the connection between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. It is the literal foundation for future skills like reading, focusing, and even handwriting. So skip brushing them to their feet and maybe build a crawl obstacle course with pillows instead. But autonomy isn't just about movement, it's about eating too. When a baby turns their head away from the spoon and you push for just one more bite, you're overriding their internal fullness cues. Long term, that's actually quite dangerous because it programs their metabolism to ignore their body's natural signals. It tells them external pressure matters more than their own internal hunger. That is exactly where picky eating and emotional eating take root. Honoring that fullness signal teaches them that their body is trustworthy. All right, on to section 4, navigating emotional storms. This is all about how they learn to regulate big feelings. Babies are constantly hit with massive physical sensations, frustration, exhaustion, wild excitement, and they have absolutely zero words for any of it. The trick here is to literally name those messy feelings out loud. Saying something like, "You're frustrated that block won't fit," builds an emotion language bridge. Imagine trying to find your way around a huge sprawling city with no street names. You'd panic. Naming the feeling gives their brain the street signs it needs to categorize and actually regulate those internal storms, rather than just being completely swallowed by them. They're also constantly looking to us to figure out the world, which is a process called social referencing. Picture your toddler getting to the top of a slide for the first time. What do? They look right back at you to see if they're safe. If you're doing that panicked hovering thing, they instantly learn the world is dangerous. But if you give them a warm smile and a calm "I see you," you become their secure base. They build this internal belief that it's safe to explore because you're right there to catch them. But what do you do when the storm actually hits? During a tantrum, we just want to fix it. We say, "Stop crying, you're fine." But telling a child they're fine when their entire world feels like it's ending creates a huge emotional mismatch. And if you only offer connection after they've calmed down, you're breeding avoidant attachment. You're teaching them they have to handle the hardest stuff alone. Instead, do these 3 things. Get low, stay calm, and be a present witness. Just your calm presence is the exact co-regulating signal their nervous system needs to find its own off switch. And finally, section 5, the power of calm. Because how you end the day is just as critical for brain architecture as how you spend it. 3 minutes. That's all it takes. Most of us just want to rush through the bedtime routine because we're exhausted, right? But a baby's nervous system desperately needs to learn how to actively downregulate. After the bath, after the feeding, just hold them close in a dark, quiet room for 3 minutes of total calm stillness. No rocking, no singing, just quiet presence where they can hear your heartbeat. You are literally teaching their nervous system what true regulation feels like, and that sets their emotional baseline for the rest of their lives. So everything in this explainer really culminates in this one profound thought from the source. They are recording every time you chose connection over distraction. They aren't going to remember the outfits or that fancy stroller, but they are absolutely recording the way you respected their autonomy and the way you stayed steady when they were melting down. It's connection, not perfection, that builds those deep neurological bonds. Which leaves us with one final question for you. Which of these interactions are you going to be more intentional about today? Is it the 10-second struggle, the 5-second conversational pause, or maybe that 3-minute calm stillness tonight? Pick just one and start actively building that incredible neurological architecture your child deserves. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you.